Welcome back to more of my favorite houses of true crime horror. Viewer discretion is advised. Today we travel to Mustang, Oklahoma, where some say that this town is a slice of homemade Americana. However, back in 2011, it was the home of Keith and his wife Becky. Keith Bryan was a fire chief for the town of Nichols Hills, and he was also a city councilman for the town of Mustang. His wife Becky was a well known real estate agent. She was beautiful, she was blonde, outgoing, perky, and very religious. However, in September of 2011, the couple's life would be shattered. Becky Bryan would make an urgent 911 call to Mustang police stating that a random intruder had just come into her home and murdered her husband right in front of her. When she was interviewed by police, she told them, quote, "A young man between the ages of 23 and 27 walked in through their open garage door, walked straight to the living room where they were situated watching a movie, came in, shot Keith Bryan in the head, and then proceeded to tell Becky Bryan, 'I'm sorry, ma'am, but he should have fucking hired me,' and then walked back out the same way he came." Police were immediately suspicious of that story, considering the fact Becky put a spotlight on herself not even 3 hours after her husband had been murdered. From flirting with the police detective to telling her friend who drove her to the hospital that she had an extramarital affair the very same day her husband died, police began to connect the dots very quickly. And it wasn't long before the police suspect list narrowed down to only one person, Becky Bryan. Over the next few days, they discovered that Becky had a number of extramarital affairs for the following 5 years prior to the murder. She had even become fixated almost to the point of obsession with one man who lived in the small town of Hugo, Oklahoma. They would meet up regularly, and Becky even filed for divorce from Keith in order to be with this man. However, when he turned her down, she ended up going back to Keith. Police theorized that she wanted to get this man back, and in order to get him back, she thought that she could kill her husband, collect his life insurance, and they would live happily ever after. That was not to be. 3 days after calling the police and claiming that an unnamed intruder had shot her husband, Becky Bryan was charged with his murder. In 2013, all of her scandalous, salacious, and very seductive secrets were put on open display for everyone in the town of Mustang, Oklahoma to see. From her children to her clients, her boss, everyone that watched the Becky Bryan trial was shocked. Becky Bryan was found guilty of the murder of her husband, Keith. She was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. She has appealed her case. The home where Keith Bryan was murdered went up for sale shortly after his wife's arrest. It is now privately owned and privately occupied.